Would you believe me that the fuzz we're about to take a look at is known for its clean tones? It sounds crazy, but it is. This is a fuzz unlike other ones that you're going to play. It's inspired by the classic fuzz face. This is the Pedal Pawn Fuzz. We're going to take a look at this now. This is a 2-knob setup, so it's pretty simple, but I want you to pay attention to what I'm doing with the volume control on the guitars, because that is where this pedal really shines. So we're going to dive in here. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy. So the Pedal Pawn Fuzz, this is kind of becoming quickly a modern mythical status sort of pedal as far as what I've seen of it around there. Pedal Pawn is from the UK and seem to have a healthy affinity for the tones of Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, which I certainly have a great admiration and appreciation for. This is based on the classic Dallas Arbiter fuzz face, and according to their literature, this is something that they've taken a look at many vintage ones. Now this one they make with hand-selected NTE silicon transistors, and it differs from the classic fuzz face in a few notable ways. First of all, I also want to mention that there's some inspiration in this pedal, as far as I know, from the Cesar Diaz Squareface Fuzz, which is one that he made especially for Stevie Ray Vaughan. It was his guitar tech and made it especially for Stevie Ray Vaughan. And those are out there, but they're exceptionally expensive. But it's a fuzz face that's kind of like an ultimate fuzz face. Now this one is taking that same direction. This is an ultimate fuzz face in many ways. And I don't know if you can tell from what you've heard so far, but I'm inclined to believe that. I really like this fuzz. There are a couple of things that differentiate this from other fuzz faces. First of all, it's extremely powerful, and it gets extremely fat and rich sounding, but even with the fuzz turned all the way up, it maintains articulation better than some other fuzz faces I've heard. Some other fuzz faces get a little woofy sounding, and a little bit too dark, and a little too just compressed around the edges, and they really need to be stacked with something else in order to sound good. This one sounds fat and massive and powerful and saturated, but it really maintains this nice top end articulation that makes it way more usable. So right there, I mean, think about like the Gilmour fuzz face tones from Dark Side of the Moon versus Hendrix fuzz face tones, and now kind of like mash those all together, and but just the good parts, and that's kind of where you're getting with this. Now the other thing is that this is known for its clean tones, like I mentioned at the beginning, which seems ridiculous, but the fuzz face, unlike a lot of other pedals, was really known for cleaning up well when you rolled your guitar's volume back, but it alters your tone. And it gives it this sort of slender, almost twangy, with a little bit of hair around the edges, and they describe this one as being very glassy like clean tones in a good way. This is one of those pedals that's kind of like gonna form your bass tone. I mean, not your bass tone, but you're from. You get what I'm saying. This is one of those pedals that's kind of an always-on pedal, and then you use your volume knob, and then you almost want to think of your volume knob. Think of it almost like you're a Hammond B3 player, and you're using the stops and to adjust your sound, to make it sound massive or to make it sound more slender. It's kind of what you're doing with this. Now, bear with me here. This is like a fuzz pedal for people who don't like pedals. I'm not going to say people who don't like fuzz pedals, but for people who have that old school approach of going straight into an amp that's driven and then using your guitar's volume to add dynamics. This fuzz suits that style really, really well. Again, it's a classic sounding fuzz that drives your amp hard, and you can make it just rip roaring. But then when you roll that volume back, it hits this like, almost like it has a threshold of a signal in order for the clipping to really engage. It's almost kind of what it's like. So you back the volume off, and then you hit this little notch, and all of a sudden you have this really lovely classic sounding clean tone that's different than your regular clean tone. This is, again, it's just something that you probably have always on. That being said, also stack fine with other pedals, and you can do all the different sorts of things that you want to do. So it's not just for that application, but it is something that's uniquely special about this pedal that it does better than other ones that I've heard. Some other fuzz faces do it great, some don't. Fuzz faces are very inconsistent pedals. They're really cool pedals, they're really classic pedals, but they're very inconsistent, whether you're talking about vintage ones, modern reissues, inspired by clones, whatever you're talking about. You'll find a lot of different pedals that fit within that fuzz face sound, and this one does it really, really well. Again, this is also ultra powerful. Old fuzz faces were not that powerful. You really had to turn it a lot up in order to get a signal. I foolishly did that when I first plugged in, and then it was a lot. In a good way, it was a lot. I just wasn't prepared for the sheer amount of volume that I was about to pump out when I hit that first chord. But I digress. So you've just heard it with a Lust for Tone Holy Relic Lustcaster. Today we are going into the Fender Bassman. That seemed like a good compromise between Hendrix and Stevie Ray. It's an amplifier that, to my knowledge, both of them used in studio work at least at one point. So you're using the Fender Bassman. Now you've just heard it with that Stratocaster. Now here's the other thing. This is not just for Stratocasters. Of course, that's the classic tone that a lot of us think of. This actually gets some really cool British blues type tones, kind of in the Clapton, Jeff Beck kind of in there, not exactly, but definitely inspired in that realm. So for the next part, I'm going to play a Les Paul. Now we're going to start this next clip with a fuzz backed off a little bit more before turning it up. But you'll hear it does the clean thing, rolling off really well with Les Paul, too, surprisingly, which it was not something I was expecting. But then the notes also give it that really uniquely kind of, again, British blues flavor if you just leave your volume up. So we're going to try it both ways with the Les Paul. Again, pay attention to what I'm doing with the volume knob so that you can really get the full effect of what this pedal does. So let us know in the comments, have you tried any Pedal Pawn pedals? They make several other pedals that I'm anxious to try. They look awesome, and bass based on the quality of sound of this one. I'm really excited to try the others. I do want to mention that this is a sponsored demo. However, none of my opinions are ever paid for. This is my honest opinion of this pedal. I'm really digging it. I really like it. I've finally found the fuzz face that I really want to keep around and keep handy for use and probably have on my board. So stick around for some tones for the Les Paul. Let us know down below, have you tried any Pedal Pawn pedals? Are there other fuzz faces that you use? I'm Jack Fossett. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the video.